Have you ever felt like the universe has been trying to get your attention, but you kept missing the signs? Maybe it was a sudden ending, a strange dream that wouldn't fade, or a quiet voice inside that whispered, "This isn't who you are anymore." You brushed it off, told yourself it was nothing. But lately, it's getting harder to ignore, isn't it? That feeling that something greater is unfolding right beneath the surface of your everyday life. There are moments when life stops being coincidence and starts feeling like alignment, when everything you've been through, every heartbreak, every silence, begins to make sense in a way you can't yet explain. That's not your imagination. That's the universe rearranging itself around your awakening. You see, not everyone receives a final sign. Most people move through life asleep, caught in the noise of routine, never realizing how close they were to the truth. But if you're here, listening to these words, it means your soul is ready. You didn't stumble upon this video, you were guided, because somewhere deep within you, something ancient remembers. Remembers what it's like to trust the unseen, to hear the language of energy, to recognize when destiny knocks. The universe doesn't shout, it whispers, and when you finally get quiet enough to listen, everything changes. Every challenge, every delay, every unanswered prayer, they were never rejections. They were preparation. The old version of you is dissolving, and what feels like falling apart is actually falling into place. So before you dismiss what you're feeling as coincidence, ask yourself, what if this moment, right here, right now, is the sign you've been waiting for? Because somewhere between who you were and who you're becoming, something sacred is calling your name. Maybe you've noticed it too. Those moments when life seems to pause for just a second, when the clock hits the same numbers again and again, when a song plays at the exact moment you're thinking of someone, when the wind seems to whisper your name. You tell yourself it's nothing, a coincidence, a trick of the mind. But something deep inside refuses to believe that, because it feels different, doesn't it? It feels intentional. You wake up in the middle of the night with a racing heart, sensing that something or someone is trying to reach you. You dream of places you've never been, faces you've never met, messages that fade as soon as your eyes open. And yet, the emotion lingers, haunting you like a melody you can't quite remember. Maybe lately you've felt heavier, more tired, as if carrying emotions that don't belong to you. You walk into a room and instantly feel its energy shift. You sense when people aren't being honest, when something is about to happen long before it does. You don't understand how, but you just know. You start to notice patterns, the same word, the same symbol, the same thought showing up over and over, almost like the universe is trying to speak your language. And part of you wonders if you're losing your mind. But what if instead you're finally waking up to a language your soul has always known? Because the truth is, the universe doesn't speak in words. It speaks in energy, in timing, in vibration. It sends messages through emotion, coincidence, and rhythm. And the more you begin to notice, the louder it gets, not to confuse you, but to guide you. Think about it. How many times did you almost follow that gut feeling, but logic talked you out of it? How many times did you stay where your spirit was begging you to leave? In a job, a relationship, a routine, because comfort felt safer than change. And yet each time you ignored the whisper, life grew a little quieter, a little duller, didn't it? Until the signs had to get louder. Until loss became your teacher, silence became your classroom, and loneliness became the only space quiet enough for your soul to speak again. Sometimes what feels like chaos is actually communication. The universe shakes your foundations only when you've built them on things that no longer align with who you are becoming. That's why lately, the things that once made sense now feel empty. The conversations that used to fill you now drain you. The plans that once felt exciting now feel forced. You're not broken. You're being recalibrated. The truth is, you've outgrown a version of reality built on survival. And when your spirit starts craving meaning, the world you used to know begins to crumble, not as punishment, but as initiation. Every delay, every unanswered question, every strange moment that doesn't fit your logic, it's all part of a sacred dialogue. You're not imagining it, you're remembering it. Because the universe has always spoken to you. Through signs, through intuition, through every shiver down your spine. But now, the messages are louder, more urgent, more personal. So the question is, if all these signs were never random, if every whisper, dream, and coincidence was guiding you toward one truth, then what exactly is the universe trying to tell you now? There is a truth hidden in plain sight, one that the ancient mystics, prophets, and healers all tried to whisper across time. The universe never speaks louder than silence, and that silence is not empty, it's sacred. It's the moment when your soul and the universe finally breathe in rhythm again. You felt it in those strange pauses before something big happens, when the air feels heavy with meaning, when you sense that invisible presence just before life changes direction. That is the first great sign, the pause, the sacred stillness before transformation. Every spiritual awakening begins this way. The world grows quiet, people disappear, doors close, plans collapse. You think you're being punished, but you're actually being repositioned. What you call stuck is the divine holding you in place so that your old energy can't follow you into what's next. The ancients called it the void, the dark night of the soul. It is where the old self dies and the real one begins to stir. In Egyptian temples, initiates would be placed alone in a sealed chamber for 3 days and nights. No light, no sound, no food. They believed that only through absolute stillness could the soul remember its original frequency. The shamans of the Andes call it the Great Silence, a time when the spirit steps forward and the human fades. Even in the Bible, before every divine revelation, there was always silence. 40 days in the desert, the stillness before the voice of God. You see, silence is not the absence of communication. It is the purest form of it. When the noise of the world fades, the whispers of the divine grow louder. That's why when your life suddenly quiets down, when you feel alone or lost, it's not abandonment, it's invitation. The universe is saying, stop trying to fix what I'm already transforming. Because growth doesn't happen in motion, it happens in surrender. You might be thinking, well, but how can stillness be a sign? Because stillness forces you to listen. When everything external stops, your internal compass activates. That's when you begin to notice what your soul has been trying to say all along, that peace was never out there. It was waiting for you beneath all the noise. Think of your life like a river. When the current is fast, everything blurs. Reflections, colors, meaning. But when the water stills, the surface becomes a mirror. Only then can you see your own face clearly. And here lies the hidden message. The pause between who you were and who you're becoming is the universe's way of realigning your vibration. The discomfort you feel is your energy detoxing from everything false. Your restlessness is your spirit pushing against old cages. Your confusion is sacred. It means you're no longer compatible with your old reality. When you stop resisting that stillness, when you breathe into it instead of fighting it, something extraordinary begins to happen. The signs become clearer. You start attracting people and situations that match your next level of truth. You begin to see with new eyes, not through fear, but through recognition. That's the first secret few are willing to tell. The universe tests your silence before it trusts you with clarity. It's easy to talk about awakening when things are beautiful, but the real transformation begins when everything goes quiet. When you stop asking, why me, and start asking, what is this teaching me? That's when the shift occurs. That's when you begin to hear your higher self whispering, this isn't an ending, it's preparation. So if lately you felt forgotten by life, understand this. You're not being ignored, you're being initiated. You're not in the dark, you're being planted. And the soil that feels heavy now will soon be the very ground from which your light will rise. The sacred pause is the first and most powerful sign that your soul is evolving. It's where destiny starts to rearrange your world from the inside out, quietly, invisibly, perfectly timed. But there's a reason so few people embrace it. Silence reveals what noise used to hide. It forces you to face yourself, to sit with your truth, to see what can no longer continue. And for most, that's terrifying. But for the awakened, it's liberation. Because once you make peace with the silence, once you stop fighting the stillness, something ancient begins to move through you again. The same force that moves the stars, the same breath that created the universe itself. It begins to flow through your life, guiding every step. And that's why you're here, not by chance, but by alignment. Because deep down, your soul knew it was time to remember this first secret. The silence you fear is the space where miracles begin. If these words found you, it's because you were meant to hear them. So take a moment, breathe, feel, and trust. And if your heart recognizes this truth, if you can feel this resonance inside you, like this video and subscribe to join this community of awakening souls, a circle of people walking the same path of remembrance, rediscovering what was always within. Because the next revelation will show you something even deeper. What happens after the silence, when the universe finally speaks back. There was a time when I didn't understand any of this, when the silence I spoke of felt less like peace and more like punishment. It was a season of endings. Friendships fading without reason, plans collapsing, and a sense of emptiness that no distraction could fill. I remember waking up each morning with a tightness in my chest, as if the air itself had grown heavier overnight. I would walk through the same streets, see the same faces, but everything felt distant, like I had stepped out of the rhythm of my own life. One night, after another day of pretending everything was fine, I sat on the floor in the dark. No lights, no phone, no sound, just me and that unbearable silence. And in that stillness, I broke. Tears came without warning, hot and relentless. I wasn't crying over something specific. I was crying because I didn't recognize myself anymore. The person I had built, confident, ambitious, always in control, felt like a mask melting away. And underneath it, there was someone raw, scared, and strangely awake. That night, I whispered out loud, "If there's something I'm supposed to know, show me." It wasn't a demand. It was surrender. The days that followed didn't bring lightning bolts or miracles. They brought subtle shifts. I started noticing small things. A feather on the ground where I'd never seen one before. A song on the radio that played the exact words I needed to hear. Strangers saying phrases that echoed thoughts I hadn't spoken. At first, I dismissed them as coincidences until they became too precise, too intimate to ignore. One morning, I dreamed of standing at the edge of a vast ocean under a sky full of light. A voice said, "Stop clinging to the shore." When I woke up, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was waiting for me beyond the familiar. That same week, I lost a job I thought defined me, and instead of panic, I felt release. It was as if the universe had been holding its breath, waiting for me to let go of everything that was never meant to last. The silence I once feared became my teacher. Every loss revealed truth. Every ending created space. I began spending time alone, not out of isolation, but devotion. I walked barefoot on grass, sat near rivers, watched sunsets without taking pictures. I listened to my thoughts until they became prayers, and then until even the prayers became quiet. That's when the whispers began. Not voices, not visions, but knowing when to say no, when to walk away, when to forgive, when to wait. It was as if a deeper intelligence had taken over, guiding my choices with invisible hands. Once, while walking through a market, an old woman stopped me. She looked me straight in the eyes and said, "You're glowing differently. Whatever you lost, you were never meant to keep." Then she smiled and disappeared into the crowd. I never saw her again, but that sentence echoed in my mind for months. That was when I realized, the signs don't appear to comfort you. They appear to awaken you. And awakening is rarely gentle. It cracks you open so that the light can enter through the same places you once tried to hide. Since then, I've met many souls who went through their own sacred unraveling. A man who lost everything and discovered peace for the first time. A woman who left a life of noise and finally heard her own voice. Each story different, yet carrying the same pattern, the breaking before the becoming. If you've been through something like this, you know the feeling, the strange mix of fear and freedom, of loss and revelation. You look back and realize that the things that hurt you most were actually blessings in disguise, pushing you toward truth. The silence I once cursed became my cathedral, and every sign, every dream, every coincidence, every heartbreak became scripture written not on paper, but on my soul. Maybe you've been there too. Maybe you're there right now, feeling the universe rearranging your life in ways you can't yet understand. If so, know this: you are not alone. What feels like falling apart is actually you falling into alignment. Now, I want to hear your story. What signs have you noticed lately? Have you ever experienced something so precise, so strange, that you knew it couldn't be random? Write it in the comments. Tell me what the universe has been whispering to you. I read every single one of them, and in future videos, I may share your story so others can see they're not alone on this path. Because maybe, just maybe, your sign will be the one that helps someone else awaken too. And as you write, ask yourself, if the universe went this far to get your attention, what truth could possibly be so important that it needed you to hear it? The second secret of the universe is this: it always answers, but never in words. It speaks through alignment, through the invisible choreography of life that brings the right people, challenges, and moments to your path exactly when your soul is ready for them. When you begin to notice that nothing is random, that even the detours carry divine precision, you've started to understand the language of energy itself. Most people believe they are waiting for a miracle, but the truth is, the miracle is already happening, quietly, underneath their perception. The universe communicates through resonance. Whatever vibrates with your energy, it moves closer. Whatever no longer matches, begins to fall away. Think about the moments when you suddenly felt a strong urge to call someone, only to discover they were thinking of you. Or when an unexpected delay made you avoid an accident, a missed flight led you to meet someone who changed your life, or a heartbreak redirected you toward a deeper version of love. That's not coincidence. That's energetic alignment in motion. The second great sign is called synchronicity, the mirror of the soul. It's the way the universe reflects your inner world back to you through external events. The moment you shift inside, your reality starts to rearrange. It's not magic, it's mechanics. You are energy, and energy responds to intention. Ancient mystics used to say, the outer world is a dream dreamt by the soul. That means your reality is a conversation, one between your higher self and the divine. Every symbol, every meeting, every random happening is part of that dialogue. The question is, are you listening? Here's how you can begin to understand it. When something repeatedly shows up, a word, an image, a number, a song, a phrase, pause. Don't overanalyze. Simply notice how it makes you feel. Because emotion is the soul's handwriting. The universe doesn't use logic. It uses resonance. If something stirs your heart, it's because it carries a message meant for you. Now let me give you a simple practice. It's ancient, yet perfectly suited for the chaos of today. The reflection technique, how to read synchronicity, pause before reacting. When something unusual happens, a coincidence, a sudden delay, an unexpected encounter, stop for a few seconds. Don't label it as good or bad, just observe. Ask inwardly, what emotion is this event awakening in me? Don't think of what's logical, feel it. The emotion is the vibration that reveals the lesson. Trace the mirror. Every external event mirrors an internal state. If people around you keep reflecting chaos, where within you is there still resistance? If the world feels still and open, where in you has peace finally taken root? Anchor the message. Once you sense the meaning, speak it or write it down. This act grounds the energy, turning the abstract into something tangible. Thank the messenger. Gratitude amplifies the frequency. Even if the lesson came through pain, honor it, because you're being guided, not punished. Try this for just 7 days. Pay attention to what unfolds. You'll notice that the world starts to feel more alive, like it's breathing with you. You'll walk into a place and overhear words that answer questions you never spoke aloud. You'll meet people who carry pieces of the wisdom you've been seeking. This is how alignment works, not through control, but through surrender. The more you force, the more resistance you create. The more you listen, the faster the current carries you toward your true direction. Every sign is the universe's way of saying, I'm still here. I never stopped speaking. You just stopped listening. And once you begin to see the world this way, every moment becomes sacred. The stranger's smile, the delay, the dream, the sudden shift of plans, all of it is the divine speaking in code. You don't need to decipher every message. You only need to recognize that the conversation exists. Because once you do, fear begins to dissolve. You realize that life has never been against you. It's been orchestrating everything for your awakening. There's an ancient truth shared among the mystics of many paths. When the disciple is ready, the signs multiply. So if lately your life has been full of strange alignments, unexpected endings, or chance encounters that feel too perfect to ignore, it's not chaos, it's confirmation. It means you're moving into coherence with your higher path. But remember this, synchronicity is only the second sign. It's the universe's way of catching your attention. There is another, deeper signal, one that doesn't appear around you, but within you. It's the vibration that unlocks the sacred dialogue between your soul and the divine source itself. Few ever reach it consciously. In the next revelation, you'll understand what happens when the signs stop coming. When the universe no longer needs to send messages because you've finally become the message itself. Until then, take a deep breath. Look around. Everything you're seeing right now, this moment, this voice, this connection, is not random. It's alignment. If these words resonate with you, if you can feel the truth vibrating in your chest, subscribe and join our community. A circle of awakening souls, learning to listen to the language of the universe together. Because soon, you'll discover the rarest sign of all, the one that doesn't arrive to you, but awakens through you. There is a moment in every seeker's journey when the universe stops sending signs, not because it's silent, but because you have become the sign. It's the most sacred and unsettling realization of all, that what you were searching for has been living within you since the beginning. Every whisper, every coincidence, every revelation was never pointing outward. It was guiding you inward. This is the third and deepest signal, the one few ever recognize, the awakening of presence. When the divine no longer speaks to you, but through you. It begins subtly. You notice that your prayers change. You stop asking for things and start feeling grateful before they arrive. You stop chasing purpose and start embodying peace. You stop seeking answers and start becoming them. The voice of fear grows quiet, and what remains is stillness, powerful, radiant, unshakable. In that stillness, something extraordinary happens. The separation between you and the universe dissolves. You realize that you were never being guided by the light. You are the light, experiencing itself through form. This isn't philosophy. It's remembrance. It's what every sacred text tried to tell us in different words. The kingdom of God is within you. Be still and know that I am God. The Father and I are one. These weren't metaphors. They were instructions. They were telling us that divinity is not a distant star to be reached, but the very fire that breathes behind your ribs. Quantum physicists call it coherence, when two energies vibrate so perfectly together that they merge into one field. The mystics called it union. The saints called it surrender, but the feeling is the same. You are no longer walking toward truth. You are walking as truth. And this is where the paradox appears. When your frequency rises to this state, life doesn't suddenly become easy. It becomes honest. You begin to see everything with piercing clarity, the beauty, the pain, the illusion, the divine architecture behind every loss. You feel connected to everything, even the things that once broke you, because now you understand they were never meant to destroy you, only to strip away what wasn't real. It's here, in this awakened presence, that miracles begin to flow effortlessly, not as random blessings, but as reflections of your inner state. When you radiate peace, peace finds you. When you embody love, love appears in forms you couldn't have imagined. When you walk in alignment, doors open before you knock. But it's not about control, it's about resonance. You no longer command the universe, you co-create with it. Every breath becomes a prayer, every step becomes sacred ground. And maybe you've felt it lately, that hum beneath your skin, that magnetic pull that tells you something vast is awakening inside you. That's not imagination. That's your higher self expanding beyond the limits of the mind. That's your soul remembering its infinite nature. At this moment, I want to speak to you not as a narrator, but as a fellow traveler on this path. Everything I share here, every word, every reflection, comes from a place of love and devotion, not profit, not performance. This channel exists because people like you are awakening all around the world, and this is where we gather as one community of light. If you feel this truth resonating within you, take a second to like this video and subscribe. Not because it helps an algorithm, but because it strengthens this circle of awakening souls who are remembering together. Your support keeps this message alive. It allows this work, born from passion and faith, to reach others who are still searching in the dark for what you have begun to see. Now breathe deeply, feel the silence between your thoughts, that pulse you sense, that warmth expanding in your chest. That is not emotion, that is recognition. It's the energy of creation itself, acknowledging that you've remembered. Because the ultimate sign from the universe is not written in the sky or whispered through chants. It's the moment you realize you are the answer to your own prayer. The divine doesn't live somewhere above the stars. It lives in your awareness, in your willingness to love, forgive, and begin again. You are the bridge between heaven and earth, the meeting point of infinite and form. And when you reach that understanding, the world transforms. Not because it changed, but because you did. Your old identity dissolves like mist in morning light. You no longer ask, "When will I arrive?" Because you finally see that you never left. The universe wasn't testing you, it was teaching you to remember your own reflection in its mirror. You are not a seeker anymore. You are a transmitter. You are not waiting for the light. You are the light, learning how to shine without fear. And yet, there's one more truth, one final revelation that completes the circle. Because even after you awaken, even after you merge with that divine stillness, there's something the universe still asks of you. A sacred task that every awakened soul must face before their transformation is complete. It's not about seeing more, it's about becoming a guide for others still asleep. And that, my friend, is where the final mystery begins. Every sign, every silence, every unexpected detour in your life has been leading you here, to this moment of remembrance. The truth is, you were never lost. You were being guided through a sacred maze designed not to confuse you, but to awaken you. All the endings you've grieved, the people who left, the opportunities that vanished, they were not punishments, they were sacred edits. The universe was rewriting your story, stripping away everything that wasn't aligned with who you were meant to become. Look back for a moment. Can you see it now? How every heartbreak cracked you open to deeper compassion. How every delay protected you from what wasn't ready. How every silence taught you to listen for the divine whisper within. These weren't random events, they were initiation. The signs were never outside of you. They were reflections of your own expansion. Because awakening doesn't happen in temples or mountaintops. It happens in the quiet revolutions of the heart. It happens when you choose peace over reaction, when you forgive instead of fight, when you trust the unseen even when your mind screams for proof. And that is how the universe measures your readiness, not by what you say you want, but by how much love you can hold when things don't go your way. You are being called, not to escape the world, but to illuminate it, to walk through ordinary moments carrying extraordinary awareness. When you wake up each morning, the universe doesn't ask you to be perfect. It asks you to be present, to notice the beauty hiding in small things, the sound of rain, the warmth of a sunrise, the way a stranger's smile can feel like a message sent directly to your soul. Because these are the real miracles, the ones we overlook while waiting for something greater. But what if the greater you've been waiting for is you, fully awake, fully alive, finally trusting that your life is not happening to you but through you? What if every moment is an answered prayer in disguise? You've spent so long searching for signs from the universe, but maybe this entire time, the universe has been waiting for a sign from you. A sign that you're ready to step into your purpose, a sign that you're willing to live with your heart open, even when it's been broken. A sign that you're ready to shine, even when the world still sleeps in shadows. This is your moment. This is your sign. Because once you recognize the sacred pattern of your journey, you realize that everything, absolutely everything, was preparing you for this awakening. The storms made you strong enough to carry light. The silences taught you how to hear God in your own heartbeat. And the waiting shaped you into the vessel, capable of receiving what was always meant for you. You are not small. You are not late. You are not forgotten. You are a piece of eternity, dressed as a human experience. And the world needs your light, your story, your voice, now more than ever. So breathe deeply. Let gratitude fill the spaces where fear once lived. Forgive yourself for all the times you doubted your path. You didn't fail, you evolved. And now it's your turn to become the sign for someone else. Someone out there is searching for hope tonight. They're praying for a signal that everything will be okay. And you, yes you, are that signal. Every kind word you speak, every act of compassion, every time you choose understanding over judgment, you become a messenger of the same divine force that once called you to awaken. So before you leave this moment, I want to invite you to make a small act of alignment, an act that keeps this circle of light alive. If this message touched your heart, leave a comment below with your name and the city you're watching from. I read them all, and in the next video, I'll send a special blessing to some of you, by name, because this isn't just a channel. It's a community of souls awakening together, remembering who they truly are. And if you haven't already, subscribe and like this video. Not because it changes numbers, but because it strengthens this family of light. People from every corner of the world, connected by faith, by truth, and by love. This channel doesn't exist for profit. It exists for passion. To keep the flame of awareness burning in a world that desperately needs warmth. Your presence here is a part of that miracle. So as you step back into your day, carry this truth with you. You are not waiting for the universe to give you a sign. You are the universe giving one to itself. And somewhere, beyond what the eyes can see, creation itself pauses for a heartbeat, smiles, and whispers. They've finally remembered.